Hello everybody, this is Kiru's show here. Now, whenever we last left off, Momo had just been introduced to All Might and discovered his secret. Now, she would then ask All Might exactly what's going on with him, or why he's essentially trying to find that kid, because she knows why he is, or she knows why she is, but she doesn't know why he is. He would give the explanation that he is trying to find a successor. She's asking, so you're looking for a replacement? As he would say, no. Well, you already know about this, so one thing about my quirk is I can pass it down from generation to generation, as long as I am willing to do so. Now, she would actually be really interested by this, and she's asking All Might if he's serious. Now, All Might would have to reassure her that he is quite serious, but he considered her for a minute, but she doesn't seem like... It seems like one for all would actually work against her quirk. She would ask what he means, and he would explain that you have to be... Essentially, your body's way of actually holding in one for all's power is through muscle, which she would immediately just understand. Because essentially she has to eat a lot of food to actually have enough to create something... Well, enough fat lipids in her body to create something. Now, this is whenever All Might would say that he can still train her, but she may just... as... She may just need to actually get physically stronger. Or get a little bit more creative with her quirk. Now, while that is happening, Deku and Bakugo are at the gym. Bakugo is bench pressing about 250, and Deku's actually spotting him. Bakugo is asking who that girl even was, as Deku would say he has no idea. But she called herself Yayurozu, or something like that. Bakugo would ask why that sounds familiar, as Deku would just pull out his phone for 1 second and actually look it up. He would say that she seems to be like the daughter of a CEO. It's weird. Bakugo would just laugh, saying that she's a rich girl. Now, after this, let us cut 4 months into the training. Bakugo and Deku have been just going to the same gym over and over again every day, actually training. And afterwards, Deku would go to a buffet and just train his quirk. Now, after going to the gym one day, they would see a small skinny man actually looking around. Now, as soon as he would see Deku and Bakugo, this is whenever he would walk over, and he would actually ask to speak with them outside, which would kind of confuse them, as they would walk outside and they'd actually talk with him. Now, what would happen is he would ask to talk with them privately, and as soon as they would walk into an alley, or essentially a place where people can't see, he would immediately buff up, grab them, and just jump on top of a roof. Now, he would then reveal that he is actually All Might, and he would show off his injury, and he would say that he's looking for a worthy successor. And he essentially saw his quirk, but he did not see his quirk. Bakugo would then show off his explosions, which would actually impress All Might. Now, he's thinking that if he essentially gives Bakugo the boot or the enhancement that it could be very beneficial because essentially he wants to make sure someone in his place can actually will hold up to not hold up, but be better than him. He doesn't want someone to be a carbon copy. He wants them to be better. And he sees that Midori is essentially going to be a new Fat Gum, if not even stronger than Fat Gum. Oh, hang on. Alright, sorry about that. Someone was asking me the name of my intro, and I just told them. Now, this is whenever. Yeah, okay. This is whenever All Might, he would explain that he can pass down his quirk, and he was considering Bakugo as a successor. Or he was considering Midoriya, but he saw the way his quirk works, so it would not really work very well. So, this is whenever Bakugo. Oh, man. This is whenever Bakugo would say that he accepts, and All Might would say that he just needs to do more physical training. Now, afterward, All Might would tell Bakugo that since he's essentially already going to a gym, he should really just need to go here for another 4 months, and he could actually talk to him at the end of those 4 months. Just to meet him here on the end of the month at this time. Or just meet him at the beach at this time of this day. Now, after that, this is whenever Bakugo, he would be really excited and shocked, and Deku would say that if All Might's going to give him his power, then that means he just has to get stronger too. Now, as soon as that would happen, this is whenever Bakugo and Deku would immediately go back into the gym, and they would actually just start training harder. And Deku is not only training harder now, but he's also eating more, essentially to help build up his core, to get stronger and stronger now. Now then, what happens is, man, mm, my jaws just popped. What happens is, Bakugo and Deku, they would be training harder and harder, and they'd actually just go more intensely. They used to go to the gym for about 2 hours a day to work out, but now they're going up to 4 to 5 hours a day. And they are also studying. Now, one day a girl would walk into the gym, and she's actually would see them, and she would walk over and introduce herself. Now, this is whenever Deku, he would look and he would see that it's Yayuruzu. He would run over and he'd tell her that it's kind of weird to see her here, and he would introduce himself again, because she probably forgot. Now, she's actually really surprised to see him, and she's asking him what are they doing here. He's saying that they've been training here for the last couple months to actually get an EUA. And she would actually say that she kind of gets that because that's what she's going to do. Deku would say it's a bit late now, but she would then explain that she's been training for the last 6 months to actually learn how to make a lot of different things. And Deku would ask her what she's been learning how to make. She would then say that she's been learning how to make essentially more kinds of weapons like samurai swords and stuff like that, along with other things. As soon as Deku heard that, he was kind of disappointed because he just asked her if she's ever seen movies or stuff like that, which she would probably say no. So Deku would just tell her that she needs to sit down and watch a lot of these old movies, and they're really cool and stuff like that. Now, after this, Deku would run over and actually help Baku get that weight off of him, which he kind of also forgot. Now then, afterwards, this is one for Deku. him, Momo, and Bakugo, they would actually go to the beach. And they would see how dirty this area is. So he's saying that if well, he's gonna try and actually look up some old action movies and stuff like that, because a lot of the things that he's seen in them, she could probably make with her quirk. No. Hmm. There's usually 4 or 5 routes I can take with this, or with Momo's character. Here, let me figure this out. Okay, I just figured this all out. Now, this is one of our deku. He's talking with Momo, and he's telling her that they can do training here for now and actually work on a bunch of different things. She's asking what he means, and he would just tell her that essentially this place is dirty, so let's try and clean it up because it'd be really cool and really nice. Plus, All Might kind of gave him the suggestion, so it's basically like your own personal beach or your own personal training area. Now, he would actually, they would all start cleaning up the beach, and Deku's actually training his quirk. Now, what I mean by that is, he could just, he's been learning somewhat of a new move. Essentially, he turns himself into a ball, and he can just try bouncing from one place to another. But he can also use his spear ability to actually throw, well, he can actually throw around his power now, quite literally. It's like, hmm, it's like if you were to hold out a piece of paper and try and drop something through it. Essentially, you can just tap through it. Now then. Or whenever you're messing with your pencil or your lead pencil, you can just poke a hole through paper. You can basically do something like that. Now, you can essentially, as he's turned into a ball, bring all of his force to one concentrated point and just tap it. Now then, this is one of our Deku. He's telling Momo that they need to work on some actual physical combat. And this is whenever Bakugo, he would immediately stop what he's doing, run over to Deku, and just try punching him as hard as he can. Now, he would actually punch Deku in his chest, and as soon as he does that, Momo would tell Bakugo that he needs to stop because that probably actually hurt him, as Deku would just immediately start laughing at Bakugo, and Momo would see that his quirk is quite literally what it sounds like. Now, Bakugo would tell her that, or Deku would tell her that she can literally just kind of throw as many punches as she wants at him, because it doesn't even matter. He can just take the punches, and if not, if he wants to send them right back to him. Now, Momo would actually be kind of confused as to putting her hands up to actually throw punches and stuff like that, so she would actually be doing so, and Deku and Bakugo are actually telling her that she needs to do some actual proper weight training now, as they would be able to actually get her to the point where she's starting to develop some superhuman speed, but it's nowhere near anything like Stains. Now, because of this, Momo and Deku would be showing her a lot of old movies, just a bunch of the old classics, even AVP. And she actually found this quite interesting, so she would have tried making something like that. But as soon as she goes to think about the mask, she immediately just blanks on it, trying to figure out how that's even made, which kind of would motivate her more. So she would look into it, and in her father's company, she essentially has. She's essentially tried writing and actually making a 3D blueprint of an alien AVP mask, along with a plasma caster and the wrist gauntlets, which aren't actually very hard to make. You just need to have a spring-loaded device in the back to actually jump out the blades. Now, the mask is where she's having trouble. So, she would actually somewhat develop a different type of mask. It doesn't look like the AVP mask, but it essentially functions the exact same way. Along with it has a strap that she can just put on the back of her head so that it doesn't fall off. Now, after that, she's actually trying to focus on different types of aim, or she's actually trying to learn how to use a bunch of different types of things. So, crap. She is learning how to use a lot of different things. She's been using swords, different things like swords, knives, and she's actually somewhat delving into plasma caster technology, which is harder for her to create. Because she can create prototypes, but they aren't very, well, they aren't very stable. So it's not actually plastic. It's basically like a bona fide cannon, well, shoulder cannon, which she might as well have. Now, the shoulder cannon, it's going to work like a rotary grenade launcher. Now, this is going to be where I'm going to start delving into Bakugo's training with All Might. Now, essentially, Deku, him and All Might, or Bakugo and All Might, they would eventually meet up at the beach one day, and All Might would see the progress Bakugo has actually made. Along the beach is somewhat cleaner. Now, after this, Bakugo, he would be given One for All. And Deku, him and Momo are actually still learning different things, and they're actually going through a learning curve with their quirk, which she's actually interested by, because she's never really had this idea of creativity. Now, because of that, she's actually learned how to make an M32 rotary grenade launcher, along with some other high-tech military explosives, like C4 plastic explosive, and one of my personal favorites, M42. Well, let's see. It's basically an explosive incendiary casing. It's really cool the way that sounds. The name of it is super scientific, but it's amazing. Now then. As soon as Momo would actually make one of these things and actually fire it for the first time, it would actually confuse her by how loud the boom is, and actually somewhat set some of the things they were trying to clean on fire. So Deku would immediately just jump into the water and he'd just throw as much force as he can into his hands and just splash all the trash with water actually putting it out. Now, let us cut to whenever the beach is finally clean, and All Might is trying to teach Bakugo how to use One for All. Bakugo is actually, he's trying to do what All Might's doing, and he would have thrown a smash at the ocean, breaking his arm, which would not have been good. And let us leave that off. No, let's not leave that off on a cliffhanger, guys. Let's see. Bakugo, he's actually just thinking that he can figure out All Might's quirk a bit later, but he just needs to focus on actually getting into UA first. Now, Deku and Bakugo and Momo. Momo was given a recommendations, but Deku told her, come on, it'll be fun. Come on. They'll get to destroy robots. So she would decline the recommendation and actually go to the entrance exam. She would score first, Deku would score second, and Bakugo would score third. Along with Deku actually, along with Deku actually meeting Ida, where Ida would have tried calling Deku out on if he's going to be a hero, why is he that way, and Deku would explain that his quirk is basically useful this way. Ida wouldn't understand, and he would just point out Facum's quirk. So Ida would immediately just stop, because he would have thought Deku was a pro hero with how tall he was. Now, for the entrance exam, Deku has been talking with Momo, and Momo would have actually asked Deku one thing she should create. Deku, he would immediately just tell her to create this and this and this, and she would do so. Now, as soon as the exams start, Momo should start creating her weapons, and she would immediately just have an two M32 rotary grenade launchers, a actual belt that is just lined with grenades. Now, as soon as she would have pulled all this out, people were watching her create it, so President Mike really doesn't know what to do because he saw her pull these out of nowhere, but he thinks she has a storage quirk, so he doesn't want to allow it, but she would immediately just ask him one thing she wants him to create, and she would create it, giving Mike an Aizawa plushie. Now then, after that, she's essentially just going around, throwing around as much explosives as possible, and as she's doing so, she's also using the grenades. And what I mean by grenades is these aren't just standard flashbangs or regular grenades. They're EMPs, so they're meant to disable. So she's actually running around, just throwing around these grenades, disabling robots, and they are actually overcharged, so they will not turn back on. So they're just immobile and overloaded with power. Now then, that's happening. Deku's essentially turned into a ball, and he's actually just bouncing around everywhere, hitting robots and destroying them, and going to the next one, which people are watching, and they would see as Deku would slowly get, well, his size is slowly decreasing. And people are thinking that that's very weird, but this is whenever Deku would see the zero pointer. As soon as he would see the zero pointer, this is whenever he would hear someone crying out for help. Now, as soon as Deku would hear this, he would immediately run over, and he would try bouncing up as high as he can, and he would immediately just release all the kinetic energy he has in his hand. Now, as soon as he would have done that, he would have just blown away the entire zero pointer. Because he's essentially been stockpiling 10 months of explosive energy from Bakugo, which would build up after a while. Now, after releasing all the energy, he's turned back into a small form, and he's falling. Now, this is actually kind of confusing everyone, and this is when Momo, she would run over, and she'd try and start creating something to help Deku, but she's not able to do it in time, and as Deku's about to hit the ground, Ochako would actually slap him, getting him to levitate. Now, as soon as that would happen, she would let Deku down, and Deku's actually very dizzy, and he's very hungry, and he doesn't know what's going on. And Ochako's looking at him, and she's asking what happened, or why he's so small now. Deku would explain, that's my quirk, as he would pass out. Now, he actually scored first place in the entrance exam. Bakugo scored second, and Momo scored third, because Bakugo didn't use one for all. Now, he would have registered as an enhancement quirk, but people just thought his explosions were bigger because of that. Or his body was stronger. Now, that is where I'm going to be leaving things off, guys. I hope you guys have enjoyed the video, and have an amazing day. I will record the next one after I eat some breakfast. because I just recorded this straight after I woke up.